May we have roll call, please?
Chair Nichols,
Present?
Vice Chair Lucas,
Present.
Trustee Case,
Present.
Trustee Markle,
Present.
Trustee Olivas. A quorum is present.
Thank you. Item number 2, public comment. Members of the public who wish to address the Library Board of Trustees may come forward and speak on any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of the Library Board. And I don't see anybody here, so we shall move on. Item number 3, approval of minutes of the previous meeting. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the meeting minutes? Can I get a motion to approve, please?
This is Trustee Markle. I move that we approve the minutes of the December 12th meeting.
Trustee Lucas, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Okay, now to item number 4, Library Board of Trustees business. We are going to discuss and possibly vote on the contract between the Carson City Library and Grant Cycle. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the contract?
I have, but just in the interest of making sure that it didn't just go over my head, Joy, could you give us like a real brief plain language summary of it also? Because sometimes it.
Yeah, Grand Cycle is the company or vendor that's going to be gathering all the data for us and then coming up with comprehensive reports throughout the course of the grant period. And then also they'll do a final report at the end of the grant period, letting us know of all of the data and relevant information as we're moving through it, but also at the end.
Okay, and this might be a really dumb question too, but where is the scope of work? Which one is the scope of work?
The scope of work, let me pull it up here real quick.
It is upside, okay, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, some of it's upside down. I was like, wait, what do we?
You know, in my efforts to be green and environmentally conscious, it went wrong. But here is, I pulled up the contract again. Hello. Okay, here we go. Okay, there we are.
Okay.
There was a lot of discussion of like key metrics
Mhm.
and real-time data.
Mhm.
And but like what are the key metrics going to be? Are people going to report back on the successfulness of their job searches, or is it going to be patrons served? Or
That
like,
is going to be
what's
part of it, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So the metrics that are going to, like if you see at the very top there, it says metrics to be reported quarterly, the completion rate, the assessment scores, the
Okay.
participant satisfaction, and then continuing satisfaction surveys.
Okay.
And then at the end, there will be more comprehensive and robust information about next steps that people were taking. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Is this pretty much in line with our scope of work from last time?
Yes.
That was really all of my questions. Does anybody else have any questions about it? Is everybody comfortable with the contract? You're being quiet.
Just nodding. Yes.
Do we have to make a motion? Is that what we have to do?
Yes, I'm going to ask for a vote, yeah. That's why I want to know if there's any more questions or anything, but we can, if everybody's happy with the contract, I would ask for a motion to go ahead with the contract between the Carson City Library and Grant Cycle.
This is Trustee Markle. I move that we accept the contract from Grant Cycle for this coming year. Is that right?
Trustee Case, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Okay, let's go on to item 4B. Okay, discussion and possible action regarding a contract between the Carson City Library and LifeQ?
Lifelike.
Lifelike?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about that one as well?
Well, this one isn't any different than what we were originally looked at when we talked about the GoEd contract or the GoEd interlocal agreement. This is to create all of the virtual reality content field trips. So these are the experiences that the user will use in VR. So, for example, one that they've worked on in, which is really cool, is the lithium mine. So it's a virtual experience at the lithium mine to get the user acclimated to what that work would look like. And so these are called field trips. They're pretty short, but it's a simulation, really.
Will we have any examples that we can see
Mm-hmm.
tonight?
No. Oh, there's a one sheet? Oh, yes, then Tammy's going to talk about that. Oh, right. But you're talking of more of a hands-on, correct?
Well, a live one,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We can do that. Once we're ready to, once we've got one that is, that the vendor feels is complete and ready to go.
But there are some older ones, aren't there?
That's true.
That would,
Do you want to look at an older one?
well, I know what they look like, but
Okay.
I don't know if the other members of the board know
Okay.
what they look like. I
So
mean,
you
they're
guys
pretty
wa-
cool.
They are very cool. Sure. We can bring in headsets next meeting and go through it. Look at
Okay,
it.
well, I was really more thinking even if you look at them on a computer without without the headsets, you can still see, what's going on.
Well, do you want to do that tonight?
Well,
It's not agendized,
Okay.
so.
Okay,
But we can do it one of two ways. We can agendize it for next meeting.
okay.
I can do what you just described, or I can bring in headsets, or each of you can come into the library at your convenience and we can get into the headsets together,
Okay.
whichever you guys want to do.
I think I'd like you to bring the headsets next meeting,
Okay.
if we can. I guess I have a question, forgive me for being ignorant of this, but explain to me what service they are really providing. I'm not quite wrapping my head around why we have to have a contract. This is not a product, obviously, we're buying. So this is a contract with a company who provides the headsets and the field trips?
No, they provide the field trips, they provide the content, which is the product.
Okay,
And once we've gone into this contract with them, that material and content is then ours. The headsets we already have.
okay. So they come up with a field trip?
Correct. They build
Okay.
them. Yeah.
Okay,
And have built them, the existing ones that Trustee Markle noted. And so they're really just continuing that work that they've already done as it related to the Sandy grant with GoEd. So we're just continuing that same work that they've been doing for the last 3 years with GoEd.
okay,
And the reason that we have to have a contract is because of the dollar amount. And this also, I don't have the contract actually attached here because it's under review by the Carson City Purchasing Department. They're helping me sort of work through and just make sure that the contract is drafted appropriately for the city requirements. And then because of the dollar amount, we will have to go in front of the Board of Supervisors and get approval for signature. We don't have to do that with Grant Cycle because it's under $25,000.
okay. So we really can't vote on a contract that's still being under review?
Right,
Correct.
and it's not required that you vote on the
Okay.
contract, because I'm really here just to put y'all on notice as to what's going on. And that's why the motion reads like it does.
Okay.
So I'll get back to the staff report because I can't remember which one was the one I already clicked on. And so you'll see that that's the proposed motion is to authorize me to work with the city staff on the approval and the execution.
But aren't you already working with the city staff on that?
Well, I am, but it's so that you guys are on notice
Okay.
and that you are fine with me moving forward, that you're giving me the authority to move forward.
Okay.
Am I explaining that well enough? Okay.
Yes, it is. So you obviously do not have a contract in front of you for approval. This is the presentation and your opportunity to review the scope of work that was presented by the vendor. And this is based on the interlocal agreement that the Library Board of Trustees, GoEd, and Carson City has entered into. And part of that scope of work and the purpose of the award that was given was to make a contract with this vendor for the amount that is stated to create these field trips. So in front of you is the vendor that was selected, that was not provided to you when the interlocal agreement was entered into, right? So this is a contract that is created stemming out of that interlocal agreement. So this is your first opportunity to review it and to give your feedback. And the only thing that is asking of you today is to authorize the library director to continue her communications with Carson City to enter into this agreement
And ultimately execute it.
and ultimately
Right.
execute it, right?
All right. Well, do I have a motion?
Go ahead.
Trustee Lucas, I move to authorize the library director to work with city staff on the approval and execution of the contract as discussed.
Travis?
Trustee Markle, I second the motion.
All in favor? Aye. Oppose? Okay, motion passes. Okay, item number 5. This is the library director administrative reports. Take it away, Joy.
Do you guys have any questions regarding the financials?
No, I think we can move on from that.
Okay. Any questions? No questions about either the gift fund or the general fund? No? Okay.
We discussed that last month, I believe.
Okay, so quick staffing update. We have had a senior library, one senior library assistant position is tentatively filled until the candidate has signed the final paperwork with Human Resources. Until that time, it's not official, so, but it has been tentatively filled. An offer has been made, has been verbally accepted. But it has not been, a letter of an offer letter has not been sent yet. So that's in the works. That leaves us with one senior library assistant position posting pending. And then the workforce development and social services coordinator position is also pending. That's been going on for a while. And I hope to move forward with those postings within the week. So I'd like to have them to be in interviews by the end of this month. So just a quick list of programs. Does anyone have any questions about any of these that are on here? As you can see, Chair Nichols, we are still having an MLK program. We're just going to do it on the Sunday before.
And what are you going to do for that?
It is I don't really have the details yet because they just got worked out. But it's a craft program that our library assistant, Jonah McFadden, is going to be working on. And it's still underway, but it's a craft associated with celebrating the MLK holiday. And it's on Sunday. We actually had our Yeti escape room on Sunday, and we had 2 separate teams participate on a Sunday, which was great.
That is good.
Yeah. And today there's the making winter slime program, and there was a bunch of kids in there making some slime. We do now have Tech Busters, which is one-on-one technology help, and it's going to be every Friday at 3 p.m. James Burnett is leading that program. He's our technology coordinator. But as we move forward, we will determine whether or not we need 2 people, or if there's someone else that needs to cover, or if we want to rotate it so that each person, each staff member gets an opportunity to help with tech for those who come in. And it's really a bring your own device program where people can come in with their various devices and have one-on-one time with us to figure out how to get Libby on their Kindle is a pretty common question. How to get Libby on their laptop, things like that. So stuff that we know how to do, or stuff that simply isn't possible. And then we have to let them know it's not possible because of some of the limitations with Libby, for example. And then last but not least, actually, let me back up. We are having a winter clothes bedazzling, and it sounds just like what it is. Do you remember the little bedazzler machine? We're going to be doing that. And we'll provide some stuff for you, or you can bring your own to bedazzle.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was the yard bombing? I'm asking because
It wasn't much of a turnout.
really, because I
No.
saw a lot of social media posts about that.
I know, we were really promoting it.
Mhm.
And it was a bummer. And we only had 6 people stop in. So we've kept it out, not the actual yard bombed cart itself, but we've left out the crocheting materials for people if they want to come in. So we're going to keep it going for a little bit, but it just didn't get a whole lot of attendees, and we really did try
Oh,
to
yeah,
promote
you did.
it.
I mean, you really promoted it.
Yeah.
And Robert Drews, what does he write?
He is a local author, and he wrote a book about his experience writing and publishing his first novel. So he's going to be discussing that whole experience of writing his novel, and it's a locally. Do you remember? Because Bob came to the Friends too, right?
Yeah, he was at Browsers.
And it was the same book. What would you categorize it as?
The book that he presented when he was with us was a little different. It was Look for Something Good, and it was a novel.
It's that. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And
that
he's
was a
going to
novel.
he's going to talk, but he's going to be talking about the novel, but also his experience writing it and then self-publishing it.
Yes,
So,
and he
Oh.
did speak about that a little bit.
yeah.
Oh, interesting.
He's a regular attendee at our book club too. So, he's great. And then last but not least, I'm going to sit aside here, and Ms. Tammy Westergaard, our Senior Workforce Development Project Coordinator Assistant, Workforce Development Extraordinaire, is going to come up and go over these additional materials that I provided and give you guys a little bit of an update on what is going on with our Workforce Development Partnership and the project with the Nevada Governor's Office of Economic Development.
Welcome, Tammy.
Thank you so much for the record, Tammy Westergaard, and it is really great to be here. So let me just draw attention to the information that's in the packet before I get started on the presentation. So you'll notice that there's 2 press releases in there. One of them is from July, which was the beginning of the movement of all of this. The Attorney General telecom settlement funds moved from the AG's office to the Governor's Office of Economic Development, and that was the beginning of the interlocal agreement. It's just taken this long for all of that money to flow, and now finally, I'm with all of you. So that's one of the press releases that really does summarize what this senior workforce development librarian in residence is. What does it mean? It's the first of its kind in the United States of America. It is really an effort to bring a statewide program to the local level so that we can be a part of your training journey. You're the only public library in the state of Nevada that has a dedicated workforce development social services position, which is really pioneering. And so to be able to work with that position to help them master the individual career mapping methodology and to master using the tools. That is my role in this residency in a lot of ways. And then also it's an opportunity for the state to be very close to the jurisdiction to better understand, what the needs are in this particular population area, because we know that all communities are a little bit different. Mainly we're the same, but there are nuances and differences in the geographies in Nevada. And so by, embedding in this residency, it's just a really great opportunity for mutual learning. And the state certainly needs to have as much clarity as possible about the people of the state of Nevada, in its decisions and how it moves forward. So that's the essence of the first press release from July. And then the second release, and Director Holt, as well as the North Las Vegas Library Director, Forrest Lewis, are both quoted in both of these releases. But with regard to the first one, the librarian in residence, there's one located here at the Carson City Library, and then also one located in the North Las Vegas Library District. So there's representation at both ends of the state. And it really is a very pioneering and a really exciting model. And we are so grateful from the Governor's Office of Economic Development to get this opportunity, because there's certainly, effort that has to be deployed administratively from this side, and it's not lost on us. So thank you for all of that. Thank you for your leadership in this. And then the second press release, which both Director Holt and Director Lewis are quoted in, it's about a paper that our team just presented in at the International Conference of Education, Research, and Innovation. So it's an international educational technology conference where the work that we have been involved with really over about it's like 9 years now. Trustee Markle, Director Holt have all been a part of this work over time under my leadership at the state library as the deputy state librarian and the former state librarian. But the essence of that release is about what we have learned over this period of time about understanding the world of work and how we have framed this as a literacy issue, which is, for us librarians, we know that this is the world that we deal with. We recognize there are many different kinds of literacies. There's basic literacy, financial literacy, digital literacy. There's also workforce, labor market literacy. At least that's what we are arguing. And within the scholarly work, we have really put a stake in the ground to identify that as a type of literacy. And then we have a methodology that can help individuals improve their levels of labor market literacy. So that's the essence of that release. The full paper, I was especially excited to give it to Dr. Markle. The full paper is also included in the packet. I know, exactly. I'm a little scared. But that's also in your packet. Yeah. And then also, there is a one sheet, the one that Director Holt mentioned during the earlier part of the meeting, that can provide you access into the some of the 3D objects and the field trips and all of that, that QR code will be live by Monday. So give it a go on Monday. And that is kind of a quick summary of how the individual career mapping process works. When you look at that infographic, that really does tell a very fast and compelling story. Starts with the virtual reality headsets, then individuals get a sense of what it is like to literally be inside of a work environment and have some sense of what the key skills and abilities are that are necessary to compete for these jobs. The field trips that are being created are all reflective of Nevada's resilient sectors. So it's advanced manufacturing, skilled trades, IT, logistics, and healthcare. So in many ways, IT, skilled trades, advanced manufacturing, logistics, and healthcare. Oh, yeah, there's 5. Advanced manufacturing, skilled trades, IT, logistics, and healthcare. Yes. Those are Nevada's resilient sectors. There's an entire world of work that fits within advanced manufacturing, everything from mining to food production and manufacturing. I mean, that covers a huge domain if you think about it. But those are Nevada's resilient sectors. Those are occupations that are in demand. And when people have an understanding of what it means to enter into training programs where they're going to learn key skills and abilities that allow them to compete for those in-demand jobs, it means that it's a level playing field for a job seeker and an employer, because the employer needs the talent as much as the talent needs the job. And that is an element of being labor market literate that lots of people don't think about or not necessarily aware of. There's so many kind of traditional perceptions about the world of work that because of automation and AI, you know, the human work in the age of smart machines is just, it's changing everybody's, that landscape faster than we can even really hardly imagine. And so this is an attempt to define the problem correctly and then provide an intervention that's going to help people improve their literacy level. And as librarians and the library community, we understand the value of being literate on a very basic level, right? The better your skills are at being able to read, write, and think, the better your opportunities are in life. This is no different. The better your understanding of the world of work, the better your understanding about what your opportunities are moving forward. So it's very, very pioneering work. It's very timely. Those of us who've been working on it for, a long time could never have anticipated the pandemic. We could have never anticipated the swift rise of AI. And yet the pandemic has come and gone, and the rise of AI is here. And so this couldn't be better timed. And this is just really compelling work. So those are the things that are in the packet, and it's really kind of what I wanted to share with you, that finally this residency has begun, to express our gratitude, to answer any questions that you might have about the metrics or the content itself. I love it that it sounds like I have an assignment for the next meeting, which I can't wait. And to be your partners so that we are all like leveling up our understanding of what this problem is, and then how as libraries we can be a part of helping to solve this problem. So if that all makes sense, that concludes the presentation, but happy to answer any questions. Oh, one more thing. I do have my colleague, and this is Mark Anderson, and he is the president and co-founder of Lifelike. They are the 3D publisher, the contract that you were discussing earlier. And Director Holt was exactly right. The collection of 3D virtual reality, 3D resources, virtual reality resources, there's technical, subtle differences between how these kinds of objects actually work. But this was all begun, under Project Sandy, and actually even before that with our work through LSTA. So all of this is carrying forward of something that has been begun, it's almost 9 years ago. Yeah, I know, it's crazy that it's just been so, time flies, but Lifelike has been our publisher in this work and our partners from the very beginning. And in very simple terms, you can imagine why it's important to maintain continuity of publishers when you're in the midst of deploying programming. Much like in university settings when you have one publisher and it's for this department, and you continue with the next edition and the next edition. That, in a nutshell, is how Lifelike has been a part of our work moving forward, or from the beginning and to our current period. Because this technology is so new, in many ways, there's not a lot of interoperability between platforms and headsets and just all those kinds of things. And it won't be long, and there will be a uniformity to all of this because this technology will become ubiquitous. But right now, it's in the beginning stages of all of it, and it's very much an exciting time. And it's just so inspiring that this library is willing to just continue to lead the charge in it. I mean, this library system, I very well know because I've been a part of it in many different ways over a very long time. We were among the first to bring industry recognized credential training into this library with the Manufacturing Technician 1 training program that was altogether pioneering. And that's been like almost 15 years ago. Yeah. No, yeah, it's a long time ago. So we have recognized in Carson City ensuring that there's equal access to opportunity to learn things, to have sophisticated equipment, and have all of that stuff be focused on work readiness and skills and learning to do things so that you can get paid, is just a foundational part of what the mission of this library has been for a really long time. It's just a continuation of that. And we're leading the country. It's kind of wild.
And if I may, just two things. One, as it relates to the issue of AI and the onset of AI, the explosion of AI since the pandemic, I think this will also really be helpful as we move forward in this endeavor to sort of dispel the myth that every job is going to go away because of AI.
Exactly.
I mean, really, this is going to help. My expectation is that a byproduct, if you will be that we will take some of the edge off of the fear that AI is just going to take entire fields away. It's really going to help folks see you might not have been able to do this part of this manufacturing job, but there's this whole other piece now that exists because of technology that people may not have even know exists. And then also, pivoting away from that, I strongly encourage y'all to access the materials through this QR code, but I'm glad that you decided to use the headsets because it's a totally different experience when you're in it.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun.
Yes. it
Something to
is.
look forward to.
Yeah. So one more thing, because don't get me started on this stuff. I have such respect and appreciation for two of the librarians in this room, Librarian Markle and Librarian Holt, because they have been working in pioneering ways cataloging these resources. They were a part of a team at the State Library who created and entered the first MARC records into OCLC, into WorldCat, for virtual reality content. So the content is accessible through WorldCat because of their work. And, if something isn't in WorldCat to librarians, it doesn't exist. And so that was it was an incredible achievement within the state of Nevada. But I think that it's really important to say that on the record, that these two librarians have led a lot of pioneering work on their own in regard to what all this is. And I think it's important sometimes to just boil it down into really simple terms. These are 21st century resources that we're making accessible to everyone. And when you say it like that, It's like, oh, okay. But when you are a professional and you're in the field and you have to deal with what that really means in the weeds, it's complicated. It is really complicated. There's another librarian in this system, Kelly Robertson, who also was a part of this. So this library is an amazing brain trust for this work. It kind of blows my mind, I'll tell you that.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
does anyone have any questions for
Oh, yeah.
Tammy? Okay.
Yeah.
First, yes, again, Tammy, thank you for being here. We are excited and we're totally supportive of everything. But I have some questions.
Sure, yes, please.
So, listen, I'm going to take the healthcare one because
Sure.
that's the one that probably confuses me the most.
Okay, sure.
So, if I'm looking for a job, I want to build up my skills
Yeah.
so that I can work in the healthcare field.
Mm-hmm.
I have two components to my question. One, what kind of training is being offered that would help me get a job in the healthcare field?
Mm-hmm.
And number two, and don't take this the wrong way,
no,
I
no.
just know trying to find a job and having
Yeah.
different skills or thinking you had different skills or different training,
Yep,
sorry.
yep,
And some employers go, what the hell is that?
right.
You didn't go to WNC? No. So my second question is, how receptive do you know, I'm sure you do, you've gone out, probably talked to them. How receptive are Carson Tahoe or the mines to this type of training?
Sure. So a couple of, so to answer the first part of your question, the field trips showcase healthcare occupations. So out of a collection of 35, I'm remembering off the top of my head, there's probably 11 of them that are focused on healthcare, the most in-demand healthcare occupations in the state. The way that the occupations are cataloged essentially is through the ONET taxonomy. And what that does, it's from the US Department of Labor. So all employers are required to report statistics quarterly to the US Department of Labor about what their vacancies are. All these different jobs are assigned what's called ONET codes. So that's how every state can identify where where are the most vacancies in a nutshell. So because we have limited resources, we have not been able to create a collection of field trips that reflects all of the in-demand jobs within the state of Nevada. We have 35. So then we look at the ones that are the most in demand and just kind of went from, number one on down. So we know that there's a nursing crisis. There's a certified nursing assistant crisis, all of those kinds of jobs in healthcare. So you can see into the field trips and you can look at those different kinds of occupations to get a sense of what are the key skills and abilities that are necessary to compete for those jobs. And then going through the individual career mapping process, if you sort of did your own soul searching and you figure out, yes, I do want to go into healthcare, I think this is something that I want to pursue, then we match you with the training programs that are available within the service area of that particular library. So then when it comes to the healthcare jobs themselves, healthcare is a licensed industry, right? So you have to have licenses from the State Board of Nursing or other state boards in order to take your place in those kinds of jobs. So using these resources to prepare you for exams and prepare you for the coursework. These are course companions in a lot of ways. So it's like, I like to call it a 21st century textbook. Welcome to the 21st century. Here's a textbook, put it on your head, and I'm not exaggerating. So the course companions that have been developed, there's only two course companions that lead to industry recognized credentials, because that's another important distinction of how all of this works. The majority of jobs that are in demand for individuals exist with key skills and abilities that are obtained after a high school diploma and before a 2-year degree. before a 2-year degree. So that's where the most jobs exist. That is not to say that jobs that require degrees are not important or not valuable or anything like that. It's just identifying where are the most opportunities in any region, and they are marked by industry recognized credentials. That was part of the requirement of the federal grant that we got that really accelerated this work, Project Sandy, supporting and advancing Nevada's dislocated individuals, which is what Director Holt mentioned. The requirements of that federal grant were to help upskill people and locate them within jobs that required an industry recognized credential, not a degree, because it could be obtained in weeks, not years, and that's where the majority of the jobs are. So to answer your question about healthcare and all of that, the two certifications that we have, the textbook essentially that are aligned to, is a certified nursing assistant, of which Western Nevada College has that program. All 4 of the community colleges have CNA programs, and the content in the in our collection that was put together by Lifelike, the 3D publisher, was guided by it ended up being Great Basin College. All 4 of the community colleges were guarantors on the textbook portion of the virtual reality content. So they were the ones that said, essentially, you're getting, Gina Johnson, who leads the CNA program at Great Basin College. It's her brain trust that's being transferred into the textbook. And so this becomes the course companion to the Certified Nursing Assistant program. And the Certified Nursing Assistant program is overseen by the State Board of Nursing. So after you've completed one of those programs of study from one of the 4 community colleges, which they're all authorized programs, then you are prepared to go sit for that exam. And with that license, then you can go get a job anywhere, if that makes sense. So that's because that's how it works in healthcare. Same thing with the other healthcare textbook course companion we have, which is a dialysis technician. It was developed the same way. The College of Southern Nevada was the guarantor on that. They were the ones that helped develop this course companion for the dialysis technician program. The only place where you can obtain that certificate in the state of Nevada, which is a huge problem, is from the College of Southern Nevada. But through this work, we were able to provide these resources to a student in McDermott, Nevada, who went through the whole program, the distance learning program at CSN, and then was able to do the practicum, because there's 205 hours that are required to be of clinical experience to be a dialysis technician. There is no substitute for touching human beings when it comes to healthcare. It's just that having these really immersive resources, it truncates the amount of time that you need to spend in a clinical environment, because you get practice with these machines. You get used to them in the headsets, and so then when you actually show up and you begin your clinicals, your time is just accelerated. It's much more efficient and more meaningful and everything. But so this individual was able to actually complete the program because of these resources. She did her clinicals in Winnemucca, so she still had to drive an hour to go get her to do her clinicals over a 2-month period. But that's altogether different than relocating to Southern Nevada from McDermott, Nevada, for 20 weeks. Which is what the program takes. So I hope that answers at least some of your questions about how it works with healthcare.
That was pretty exciting.
It's
Yes.
it's incredible. And I mean, as a side note, the thing is, especially when it relates to dialysis, there is a huge shortage of dialysis, not only technicians, but nurses and physicians. Huge need. There's a global need, but the state of Nevada is no different. And we only have one program in the whole state that's addressing that training. And through this, through the deployment of these resources in other parts of the state, there are conversations that are happening between the community colleges, where the College of Southern Nevada can have some satellite instruction going on in the other 3 community colleges, because there needs to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I used to work for the Nevada Indian Commission, so I know that there's
Oh,
a
got
lot of
it, yeah.
rural people that are way out there, and they don't have the resources to, like you say, to go to
No, yeah,
Southern California, or
yeah,
yeah, maybe they want to get their nursing degree, but
yeah.
they can barely afford that, but
Yeah.
certainly can't afford
And if I
going to
may,
get housing.
I would say one of the short way to put this in a nutshell, if I was giving my elevator speech, is that these jobs, as Tammy stated, are after high school, before an associate's degree, but they require certifications. The jobs exist. We know they're out there. And what the employers want is people that have the certification. And so this is trying to help people get that certification because we know the jobs are out there. We know the employers want folks who are certified. So that's the gap that this is really trying to fill.
Yeah, that's well said. And it's actually in some instances like licensed occupations, they must have this credential in order to have their license to work in it. And in other, all of the textbooks that we have, they are all certificates that have some regulatory component. So the HVAC instructional materials that are in the headsets, the regulatory requirement, it complies with what you have to know in order to handle coolant. You know, there's federal regs that oversee that, your ability to actually handle that refrigerant coolant in correct ways.
So with this online program, then could I use the headset to become an HVAC to get that certification?
You can use it as think of it as the textbook. You'd still be enrolled in the program with the training provider, whether the training provider is from the community college or if it's another private enterprise.
Okay.
But you can use the headset as your textbook. And why that's so valuable is because how immersive the material is. A lot of well, not a lot, every one of our resilient sectors focus on STEM skills, science, technology, engineering, and math. And to master those concepts oftentimes is difficult because these are such abstract concepts. But when you can bring something that's abstract, when you can visualize it, it helps people be more efficient in their learning. It helps them be more successful. So honestly, I do this from my own memory. You know, it is a textbook beyond belief, right? I remember the first time that I went into virtual reality and I went into a cell. I first went into a pond, then I went on a leaf, then I went inside the cell. And without activating any of the text labels within it, I was in a cell and I said, that's mitochondria. I hadn't thought of the word mitochondria or said the word mitochondria since 4th grade. And then I found myself saying, that's the engine of the cell. And so I was like, wow, what would it have been like had I been able to learn in this way? You know, I don't know, sky's the limit, but that's the world we live in right now. And being able to give everybody access to these kind of resources so that they can be successful in the world of STEM work, that's the whole point.
Right. And I think that people hear those words, science, technology, engineering, and math, and they immediately go, nope.
Right.
A lot of people do. But when they get into these experiences and they understand what that actually means in a practical way for this particular position or job, whichever, you know, HVAC, for example, it really allows them to have a sense of comfort and also tap into the idea that they can do it, actually. It's not as complicated and as intimidating as it sounds. And so that's our effort towards helping folks get over any fear and then help the employer find a candidate pool.
Will these headsets be available through the library?
Mhm.
Is that the plan?
Yes, they're here now.
Will students need to come to the library or will they be able to check them out?
Students can check them out. Mhm. Job explorers, career explorers will use them in-house. But once you go from being an explorer to actually have it enrolled in a training program, you can check out your textbook. Yeah.
So is part of our program then here located at our library helping people, I mean, like somebody might want to go and just do a bunch of the field trips and
Yes.
just kind of go shopping, right? But
Exactly.
like once they're narrowing it down, it looks like we're helping with the career assessments and then helping match make them with these programs?
Mhm.
Yes,
And
Like
it's,
make that leap to getting enrolled and,
mhm.
yes.
Yeah.
And then our workforce development and social services coordinator,
right.
ideally, will continue that work once Tammy's moved on to greater things.
Oh, no, this is pretty great. I'm not moving on, I'm
Right.
moving back.
Right. So, yes, that's the
Yeah.
ultimate goal, and we'll see how it goes. I have all confidence that I think in 2 years, it will be really exciting to see how this has actually evolved and played out. Because I think there's always twists and turns and bends in the road that make things interesting. So,
It's already, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
we could bore you
that's
guys to
true.
death
Yeah.
with like how,
Yeah,
oh,
we
I
could
had no
go
idea
on.
then that it was
Right.
going to look like this now.
And
That's true.
Tammy,
Yeah.
how are we, I don't want to say marketing this. And the reason I ask is like 20 years ago when I moved here, when I was kind of lost and looking for a job and wanted to know really what I want to do with my career,
Yeah.
the state had, and forgive me, it's not there, I don't think anymore. I want to say it was connected to Manpower,
Oh, sure.
and
Yeah.
you went in and they had all sorts of resumes and
Yeah.
and talked to you about
Mhm.
different things, but I don't think as well as they should have.
Yeah.
So if somebody, how are they going to find out about this?
Yeah. Well, a couple of ways, but I think that's a great question because it'll be important for everybody to understand that we are starting with really targeted partners within the Carson City service area so that we can be really efficient about bringing people through the individual career mapping process. So there are partners within the community that we've already been working with, say, for example, Fish. And Fish has just now opened the training facility on Main Street and has the housing component there. And this program, because it does have within it an industry recognized credential opportunity, the National Career Readiness Certificate, so the NCRC. So any Carson City Library patron, of which folks that reside within the Fish Commons, those are Carson City residents, they have an opportunity to go through the individual career mapping process that will lead them to being prepared to take the NCRC exam. And part of the requirements for the housing subsidies with Fish include being enrolled in a training program, and this counts. This counts for those Fish residents.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess to answer your question, we want to be really thoughtful about, because we have limited bandwidth about how many people we can take through this cohort at any given time.
Right.
Your workforce librarian position, when that person comes on board, it'll increase the capacity. But for right now, you just have me for 10 hours a month. So I've already arranged that partnership as well as a partnership with Pioneer High. So those are two cohorts that are getting started that I will be reporting outcomes to Director Holt, and at your direction, we'll be sharing that as a part of just the ongoing, hey, letting you guys know how things are going on. So we're being really targeted in terms of who we, get a hold of like immediately. And at the same time, this team does a great job of letting people know what kind of, because essentially what this is it's a reference service. This is reference work. And it's about answering questions about the world of work. So this team is very familiar with what these resources are. They're familiar with the virtual reality headsets. They're familiar with the content that's on them. I need to give everybody a refresher, but we've been working, with all of this for a very long time. So this team can share out, hey, we have a really cool, program where you could map your individual career, all of that. I have an awesome sign that I'm going to bring over here, this big, huge banner that'll draw a lot of attention, to get people asking questions about, ask me about individual career mapping.
I also think
Yeah.
once we have the workforce development and social services coordinator position filled, there's just no substitute for word of mouth. There's no substitute for us, us going out and telling everybody about this and advertising it in that way, and having the library team also be very fully aware of what's going on, how it all works, so that they can, when the opportunity arises, just organically let people know that we've got these services available. And that has really been the touchstone of our marketing approach for all of our programming, and it's been fairly successful. So, putting our entire team on notice and keeping them informed of what work we're doing so that they can, for lack of a better phrase, strike while the iron is hot when they've got someone standing in front of them who's saying, gosh, I'm really looking for a job. And they can say, well, let me tell you all about this thing that we're doing. There's no substitute for how effective that is.
And will that start, will that start immediately, or we're gonna, or do you already have, okay, well, we're working with Fish and we're working
Yes.
with Pioneer, so that's gonna have to wait?
Well, I mean,
Yes and no.
yeah, exactly. I don't know.
I mean, it's
I'm
already
gonna have to ask if Trustee Markle could come in and work a little bit to help me out.
So it's already underway to some extent. So it's not going to be completely on hold, that part that I just spoke of, but it's going to get exponentially ramped up when we
Gotcha.
have that position filled.
Okay.
And having these initial successes from these really focused partners is very important. And there will be a lot of there'll be a lot of news about that. You know, the Governor's Office of Economic Development is very much shining a spotlight on this project. The State Council on Libraries and Literacy, in July, the chair will be Director Lewis. So yeah, so the State Council will be very focused on this work because, the chair is, like Director Holt, leading it from down south. So this is positioned to get a lot of attention. And
It's got a lot of tentacles already.
it does. It does. I'm a little nervous about actually being able to manage it all, but it's okay. We'll do it. Yeah. I'm really excited about the Fish cohort and the folks from Pioneer High.
Yeah.
Because achieving these credentials, earning an industry recognized credential is a very big benchmark. The NCRC is not it's a significant achievement. I'll just put it that way. It's employer driven. It's part of what this ACT movement is called work-ready communities. And employers are the ones have identified the key skills and abilities that make somebody work-ready. And that includes having command of workplace forms, being graphically literate. And so what that means is being able to read information from a gauge or a graph. It's not like, drawing a picture with, it's that. And then it's applied math. So when someone earns that certificate, it can be earned at 4 different levels: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. And you can go online to the ACT website and you can see, how prolific it is throughout the United States, throughout the state of Nevada. It's a significant credential. And when an employer has talent that has that certificate, that person is ready then to layer on top of that key skills and abilities that are relevant to that specific environment. And so they're work ready. There's not a lot of remediation that needs to happen. They're high functioning talent.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, just think about that. For us to put into the talent pool individuals from Carson City who have that credential and they're ready to go is a big deal. And then when you think about doing that for underserved population groups, it's an even bigger deal.
Mm-hmm. It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Really do.
Yeah.
Well, I think also too, and I know you're aware of this, but if you can, kind of go backward and go from the employer perspective, if you want to hire some young people from just out of high school, and they show some ability to do some of the tasks in your manufacturing facility or whatever, to be able to have a place where they can go and work on this credential and then get the headset textbook. And, that's a positive for employers in the area to vote, to send people towards this
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
workforce development area.
Yes, that is exactly right. And again, back to the history of this library, we have, we established the first Mac computers, and this was 15 years ago now, that had SolidWorks on them. SolidWorks is is a program that is used by a lot of different manufacturers. And so we had that software available, and we were providing courses in how to use SolidWorks in our computer lab upstairs. So to your point, Trustee Markle, that making sure that we're very in tune with what employer needs are and how we can, basically shortcut what that process is for them, that really adds so much value to our role as the community library. Yeah. Okay.
Well, thanks very much.
Oh my
and
gosh.
We look forward to seeing you next month.
Yes, I can't wait. I'll be toting the headsets.
Yes, thank you so much
No.
for taking your time
Oh,
tonight to talk to us and answer our questions.
no, thank
We really
you.
appreciate it, Tammy.
I thank you, and you guys you'll have all my contact information. You can get a hold of me, whenever you want, and happy to answer questions, help you troubleshoot with the headsets. I highly recommend you guys take them home. You'll be heroes of your family for a weekend. It's super fun.
Send pictures to your
and
kids and
thank you.
grandkids so they can see
Thank you
how
for
hip
being
you
here.
are.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, item number 6 for information only, board member announcements and requests for information. Does anybody have anything they want to put on the agenda for next month besides playing with headsets?
Will we be talking about the strategic plan yet?
I hope to. I can't go on record and say yes for sure because I don't know where we'll be. But my plan is to have that ready to rock and have that and be going with that in terms of when are we doing the community meetings, et cetera, et cetera. So. Anything else?
I guess not. We're
All
gonna
right.
move on to public comments. And it doesn't look like, again, anybody walked in while we were talking, so we're gonna move on, and I believe we are adjourned.
Thank you.